Part 32. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 311. Chapter 311, Line Up to Get Married. The old lady was funny and replied with pride on her face, "That's because you are good at your craftsmanship, otherwise they wouldn't come, right?" Tao Hongying smiled bitterly, "It's just that the commotion has made the valley a little smoky. I plan to talk to my second brother. From now on, we will only sell some fruit wine in the valley. Guests cannot bring wine. If something happens, it will be troublesome." "Okay, you can discuss it with your second brother." The old lady didn't care, but Ji Yan seemed to think there was something wrong with this matter, and she was thinking of going to the valley to have a look in the next few days. There was no talking all night, and the next day Hui Niang saw that the weather was good, so she wanted to move to the village chief's house. The old lady asked her to stay for a few more days, but she refused. The old lady could only help her pack her luggage and keep busy. When Huaniang fled here, she had nothing but blood. Now it's just a blanket for the couple to sleep on, plus 2 sets of clothes and shoes given by Tao Hongying, and some odds and ends. The old lady took another 10 taels of silver and a few handfuls of copper coins and stuffed them into a big purse and gave them directly to Huaniang. "Take this little change. If you need anything else, just buy it back." Huaniang wanted to refuse, but the old lady joked, "Don't be polite to me. This is lent to you. When Li Yong comes back, I will definitely ask him for the account." Hui Niang just closed her eyes with red eyes. She wanted to do embroidery work and buy something for her child, but it was impossible without money. She was originally worried about how to borrow money, so the old lady thought of it. The grace of saving lives and caring for their mother and child were so profound that she kept them firmly in her heart and looked forward to repaying them slowly in the future. The village chief's wife is in poor health and rarely shows up in the village on weekdays. She basically stays at home. The villagers respect the village chief and call her Aunt Wu after the village chief's surname. Aunt Wu had dried the Kong mat in the west room early in the morning, swept the west room with a broom, and heated the Kong. By the time Mrs. Li and others moved their luggage and helped Hui Niang over, the west room had a new look. Hui Niang thanked Mrs. Wu tenderly, and Mrs. Li hugged her granddaughter and sat aside to chat with her. The village chief is restless and would like to travel 3 or 4 times a day to and from the village. Aunt Wu is always left at home alone, and the women in the neighboring houses also have their own jobs to earn work points. So, Aunt Wu was very lonely. Now that Huaniang is with her, she is happy from the bottom of her heart. Hearing that Huaniang could embroider again, she even smiled from ear to ear. They both have the same hobbies, and they will find fellow travelers in the future. Soon, the two of them agreed to take some of the recently embroidered handkerchiefs to an embroidery shop in the city to ask about the price. It would be best to pick up some larger pieces to earn more money. Mrs. Li joked, "I'm clumsy, so I won't be able to help with embroidery, but I have some good materials at home, which were given by Mrs. Kui and Mr. Marquis. They will be delivered to me when I have time." This is a big help. Aunt Wu was weak and her face was slightly pale, but she smiled kindly. She held Mrs. Li's hand and expressed her heartfelt gratitude. "What I should be most grateful for is that you sent Hui Niang such a good companion. From now on, my old man can go wherever he likes. I don't care. When Hui Niang gives birth, there will be a baby at home. It's even more lively." Before he could finish his words, the village chief came back and asked with a smile, "Oh, I just went to the river beach, why am I being kicked out of the house?" Everyone laughed, and Mrs. Wu scolded, "You have dog ears, you can hear everything." Hui Niang stood up and saluted. The village chief waved his hand and said, "Hui Niang, we are an old couple who have no children. If you come to live, we all welcome you. We will definitely take care of you as our own daughter." You should also consider this place your home and live in a down-to-earth manner. Thank you, village chief uncle. Madame Hui saluted again, which made the old man uncomfortable. After saying a few words, she left again. From then on, Huanayang moved out of Li's house and lived in the village chief's house, living with the old couple. Huanayang was diligent. When she was healthy, she would help with cooking and washing, and she would do embroidery in her spare time. She was liked by the village elders and they treated her as their own daughter, and looked forward to the children in her belly as their grandchildren. The Li family is responsible for Huanayang's tonics. They make delicious food every day and send a portion to her, trying their best to take care of her. The weather is getting warmer day by day, the color of the snow in the mountains and fields is quickly fading, and the fields are also showing mottled colors. Everything seems to be holding back its energy. Just waiting for the spring breeze to blow and the spring thunder to resound in all directions, it will begin to grow at full strength, letting the breath of spring cover the entire world. The villagers chose Wu Sansu to take over Li Laoxi's position and take care of the orchards on the mountain. The village chief is still in charge of the river beach. Li Lao teaches the children to read in the morning and goes to the valley in the afternoon. He is so busy that his feet never touch the ground. Jiyan even looks for opportunities to go into the space courtyard every night, where various vegetable seedlings, as well as the most important watermelon seedlings and cantaloupe seedlings, are being prepared one after another. This year's melon planting will require a large locust tree and a large and small wangchuang. This is a big project. 20 acres of peanuts and sweet potatoes are distributed in their own river beach. The remaining 50 acres are planned to plant melons this year. In addition to 3 villages, one village is 10 acres, which is 80 acres of seedlings. The village chief had been anxious for a long time, but fortunately the good news had been told to the village through Dongmei, saying that the rice seedlings would be raised by Mr. Ho's farm. Everyone felt relieved now. After all, last year's seedlings were sent by Mr. Marquis. There are also 2 vegetable gardens at the foot of the orchard mountain, about 3 or 4 acres, with the intention of growing some vegetables for the guests in the valley. Such green vegetables come out early and can be sold for more money. Fortunately, Jiyan is much better at controlling space now. At least she doesn't have to do physical work anymore, otherwise her little arms and legs will be really overwhelmed. On this day, Li Zheng from the Weisha village came to the village to ask about the melon vines. He even looked at the boars in the Li family's pig pen, and then carefully asked if they could drive away their sows. "Come, get close, get close." The village chief uncle had discussed it with the Li family a long time ago, and of course he agreed, but it was not a free help. In the future, when the sow gives birth to piglets, the Li family will have to pay the Li family a boar for their hard work. Li Zheng agreed immediately and went back happily to report to the villagers that he was going to line up the sows from each family to get married. The village chief uncle couldn't help but sigh, it's a pity that there are only 2 boars, otherwise he would be really rich. Jiyan was hugging her grandma's thigh and listening to the excitement. How could she miss such a good opportunity? She quickly shouted with a smile, "My foster father said there are still pigs to be delivered." "Lots, lots." The village chief was pleasantly surprised. "Oh, Lord Marquis has sent people to collect good things for the family again? Is it because our family likes white pigs like this and found them elsewhere?" The old lady guessed that her granddaughter was up to something, but she wasn't sure. She could only respond vaguely, "Yes, I guess it was the Marquis who told Yeshan and Dongmei before he left. There is also a Zhuangzi in the Marquis mansion. Logically speaking, they are all useful, but they always come to us. It's all the kindness of the Marquis. Just keep it when you send it. When the pigs are killed during the Chinese New Year, I'll share it with the Marquis." The village chief smiled happily and said, "The naughty boys don't have much to do after school in the afternoon. Let them go and cut the pigs later." Pig grass, fed to many pigs. Let's not talk about the busyness at home for the beginning of spring, but in distant Quanzhou, Li Zhensheng, Ji Yi, and Lu Yang were kneeling and kowtowing. The third update is here, the daily 5-star ball and the good looks and comments. Huahua worked hard to code the words. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 312. Chapter 312. A ring within a ring. In front of them stood a small grave. On the stone tablet in front of the grave was engraved, Franco Robert. The stone monument faces the sea in the distance and has a hill at its back. It is also a good place to rest. The uncle and nephew kowtowed, guarding the brazier carefully and burning a lot of paper. The naughty sea breeze always wanted to blow out the fire, but the uncle and nephew blocked it tightly. Not far away stood a steward and a caravan of 100 or so people. Someone narrowed his eyes due to the sea breeze. He stepped forward and asked the steward in a low voice, "Steward Chen, do you want to hurry up? It's time to set off." Manager Chen waved his hand. Although he was young, he could stand out among so many people under his master, so he certainly had his own merits. At this moment, he responded in a low voice, "Just a little while, just wait." Thinking about how careful Mr. Li is in his daily life, he will not fail to consider that we are waiting. He should be fine soon. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, Li Zhensheng stood up with his 2 nephews, bowed again, patted his clothes clean, and ran towards them. "Sorry to trouble you, Manager Chen and all the brothers, let's go and return to Kyoto early. Everyone will feel at ease. It's just that the journey has been the brothers. When we get home safely, I will give a banquet to thank the brothers." Li Zhensheng handed over, he smiled and bowed to everyone. Everyone hurriedly got out of the way and said with a smile, "Mr. Li is very polite. We are also following orders." Manager Chen quickly said, "Let's go. If everything goes well, we will be home in a month." Everyone responded and took action one after another. Those who mounted their horses, and those who drove the carts drove the carts. The entire convoy, consisting of 30 carriages, is the most loaded pallet cart. Boxboards are added around them and are firmly fixed with ropes. The advantage is that it is not easy to loosen and fall off during transportation. The disadvantage is that if the wheels get stuck in a pit or the carriage breaks down and needs repairs, it will take some effort to unload the cargo. But with Ji Yi, a strong man, following the car, there is no need to worry about this matter. When a carriage got stuck in a sand pit, before the horse could pull hard, he ran over in a few steps, raised his hands, and the wheels came out easily. Everyone in the convoy saw it and couldn't help but be surprised, even more surprised. They are all private soldiers of the Marquis mansion. Some of them were the secret guards who made mistakes and were spared by the Marquis. Some are soldiers who do not want to continue fighting on the battlefield, and there are also people who have retired from the world. They are usually scattered around various places, waiting for orders from the Marquis, inquiring about information or doing some small things. I received the news earlier and rushed here. I originally thought it was a big event, but in the end, I escorted the 3 uncles and nephews of the Li family and some things back to Kyoto. This is not a difficult matter, just a little hard work on the way. Most of them know the details of the Li family. This is the family that the Marquis values the most. It is said that they saved the Marquis' life, and the Li family's daughter is also the adopted daughter of the Marquis. They originally thought that the Li family was just lucky and the Marquis repaid his kindness. Now it seems that the Li family may really have something special. Li Zhensheng was sitting on the shaft of the carriage. He didn't know that everyone was thinking about it so much. He was rehearsing the whole process over and over again. The 3 uncles and nephews went into the city that day to join the royal caravan and headed south. Everyone in the caravan knew that the 3 of them entered through Xintinghao, and no one bullied them along the way. As for the caravan manager, he had met them several times before and was even more familiar with them. He took great care of them. When they arrived in Quanzhou, the caravan was buying goods, and the three uncles and nephews walked around to see what was new. Then, he happened to save an old foreign monk who was about to die of illness. The three uncles and nephews took care of the old monk's food, and medicine. They also chatted with the old monk and learned a few words in foreign languages. The old monks are different from the monks in Tianwu. They can eat meat and even drink alcohol. Although they don't understand the language, they can even guess each other's words and gestures. From his words, the three uncles and nephews learned about the wider world, what people in that world like, and what their customs are like. When the royal caravan was about to return, the old monk's condition did not improve, so they stayed for the sake of the old monk. The people in the caravan couldn't persuade him, so they left first. Then they contacted Manager Chen with the token and saw the seeds that had been delivered early. The steward Chen organized trustworthy people to buy carriages and horses and form a fleet. The people who sent the seeds from Kyoto and the people who sent the seeds back were not the same group and did not know each other. In this way, they can successfully place the origin of these seeds on the head of the foreign monk. Even the group of people who transported the seeds saw with their own eyes the sunken ship that was said to be carrying the old monk. And I firmly believe that these things in the convoy were gifts from foreign monks in gratitude for Li Zhensheng's rescue. Although the old monk did not survive in the end, the Li family deserved these things. In this way, even if someone bribes these people in the future, they will never know that these seeds come from Kyoto. They just go to Quanzhou and then return to Kyoto. The whole process was smoothly connected, meticulous and clear. Li Zhensheng asked himself that there was no oversight. The only person who made him feel a little guilty was the old foreign monk. I don't know how Manager Chen found and persuaded the old monk. At the end of his life, the old monk was still willing to accompany him in acting, chatting and laughing, and treating him as a true friend. If there was a way, he would even take the risk of exposure and take the old monk home. It's a pity that the old monk is old and his body is like a lamp withered. At this moment, Mrs. Li was also holding her granddaughter and standing on the pile of rocks, looking in the direction of the official road. I don't know where your uncle and the others have gone, we all have to take off our jackets. Here is your uncle's face going to be oily from the sun. My mother is worried when her son travels thousands of miles. In the past few days, the old lady has been thinking about her eldest son and then her younger son. She occasionally talks about her grandson, wishing that her belly would turn into dozens of twists and turns. Jian didn't want grandma to be like this. She looked around, trying to distract her from what she was talking about, but ended up pointing to the path and shouting happily, "Senior sister, senior sister." Old Mrs. Li turned around and saw that Mrs. Kui was helping sister-in-law Qian to come this way. She quickly got off the pile of stones and greeted, "Jinro, when did you come? Why did you come here if you weren't waiting at home? The road is not easy to walk." Mrs. Kui smiled and said, "It's been a long time since I visited my aunt and Funiu. During this period, there is no spring planting in the village. Come and stay for a few days." While she was talking, she hugged Good News, kissed her, and then asked, "Auntie, this place is a bit remote. Why did you come here to build a pig pen? This place is an open space behind Dongshan, not far from the river outside the village." The village chief and others were happy when they heard that there were still many white pigs to be delivered. But if a few more pig pens are added to the Li family's back garden, there will be no room for growing vegetables. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 313. Chapter 313. The man is in love and the concubine is interested. Mrs. Lee suggested that the pig pen should be built farther away so that the smell of pig manure would not affect the village and valley. The manure and urine could be accumulated into compost and fertilize the fields and orchards. From now on, this will be equivalent to a small pig farm in the village. The children in the village cut pig grass, raise pigs, and clean the pig pens, which can be counted as work points. At the end of the year, the meat will be divided together and the money will be sold together. Of course, when the Lee family produces breeding pigs and piglets, they will share half of the meat and silver in the first 3 years, and after 3 years they will share it equally with the villagers. Of course the villagers agreed. First of all, the Marquis found so many good pigs for the Lee family. The Lee family is willing to share and cooperate with the village, which is the righteousness of the Lee family. The Lee family produces breeding pigs and piglets, the village contributes its efforts, and the piglets are divided equally in the end. This is what should be done. Even if you calculate carefully, the Lee family still suffered a loss. After all, everyone has the strength to raise pigs, but they can't find such good pigs. The village chief and the men in the village are doing the final cleanup, and the pig house has basically been built. Although they were tired, everyone spared no effort. They even smiled when talking about sharing meat and eating dumplings during the Chinese New Year. Now that my family is having a better life, it is actually not that difficult to cut meat and make dumplings. But being diligent and thrifty is a habit engraved in the bones of all poor people. Even if you have money, you are still reluctant to buy meat. Besides, after killing the white pig earlier, everyone divided the meat and took it home. They always felt that the pork was more fragrant and had no fishy smell. It was different from other foods and was particularly delicious. The village chief wiped the sweat from his forehead, walked over to greet Mrs. Kui, and urged with a smile, "It's too dirty here, and it's all men. You should go home quickly. We don't need you to work. We will kill you at the end of the year when we are pigs, just eat meat together." Both the old lady and Mrs. Kui couldn't help but laugh. Mrs. Kui, who was well-mannered, said, "Since I want to eat meat, I can't just open my mouth. That would be unjust. Let's go to Zhuangzi. There hasn't been much work for a few days, and the men, horses are all idle. Why don't we come over tomorrow and help pull the stones and pave the path?" "Oh, that's great. I still have a headache. How are we going to build this road?" "It's okay now, but in the future it will be muddy when it's cloudy and rainy." The village chief responded cheerfully, without being polite at all, and added, "If there is a pig house in your village, send the pig farmer or supervisor along with him. I will chat with him and learn from his experience." Mrs. Kui guessed that the village chief wanted to find a husband for the sow on their farm, and she was embarrassed to tell her so clearly as a woman. She quickly agreed, and then let sister-in-law Kyung hold Ji-yin while she supported the old lady back to the village. Seeing her blushing all the way, the old lady couldn't help but laugh, so she asked in a low voice, "Jinro, do you plan to live like this for the rest of your life?" Mrs. Kui was stunned for a moment. She didn't know what she was thinking of, and her face became even redder, but she still responded, "Auntie, now is not the time. Even if I get married again, I will have to wait a few years." The old lady thought of Mr. Wen, who lived alone in her small courtyard, and she knew what was going on. She smiled and patted her hand. Ji-yin eavesdropped with her little ears raised and couldn't help but smile. In fact, when she was still running for her life in the mountains, she felt that Mr. Wen had feelings for Mrs. Kui. After all, in a life-or-death situation, not everyone can risk their lives by turning around and going back to look for someone. The friendship between teachers and students cannot be explained at all. Furthermore, after Mrs. Kui divorced, Mr. Wen refused to get married, and he had a falling out with his family because of this. No matter how you look at these two people, they are both interested in each other. But now, Mr. Wen is not strong enough to control the family, and Mrs. Kui's ex-husband Dingbu also jumps up and down from time to time. It is indeed not the right time for them to get married. The two people on the left and right are both single, and because of Sujintan and the Lu family, they can see each other often, which is not bad. As soon as they arrived home, they saw sister-in-law Lu rushing to the door accompanied by Huanayang and Aunt Wu. The yard was very lively now. Several women gathered together and were happy about everything. After sister-in-law Lu became pregnant, she and Li Lao divided the work. She was in the valley in the morning and went home to rest in the afternoon. It just so happened that Li Lao taught the children to read in the morning and took over the class in the afternoon. Actually, sister-in-law Lu wanted to work full-time, but head guard Lu disagreed. Lu Yang was already in his teens, and the couple was just looking forward to having their second baby, and they had to ensure that the child was born smoothly no matter what. Let alone work, Mr. Lu now takes over the cooking and washing at home. When the villagers found out, they were so shocked that their teeth almost fell out. Lu Biatu, such a rough and arrogant man, actually became a house husband. Sitting together now, when everyone talked about this, they still laughed non-stop and envied sister-in-law Lu. Sister-in-law Lu blushed, and while peeling pine nuts to feed the good news, she said, "Our chief is thinking about having a little girl like Fu Niu, and he whispers in my ear countless times a day, I all tired." That's what she said, but her expression was full of joy. "Then let Fu Niu hug you more, and you will definitely have a little girl like Fu Niu." Mrs. Li laughed, and Fu Niu also hugged Sister Liu's neck, sniffing the scent of soap locust on her clothes like a puppy. Which made sister-in-law Lu smile. "Yesterday I went to the city with Hui Niang and bought some pieces of fabric when I make a small dress for Fu Niu, or I can't let Fu Niu's blessings go to me in vain." The old lady quickly waved her hand, "No, no, you can save it to make clothes for the child. Fu Niu has too many clothes. The Ho mansion sends several sets every now and then, and Jinro and you also make them. The family members, all the clothes are not as much as those of a little girl like her." Sister-in-law Lu insisted, "What's other people's is what's mine, and what's mine is mine. Besides, the little girl loves beauty, so it would be nice to have a few more dresses." After saying that, she lowered her head and asked the fat girl in her arms, "Is that right, Fu Niu?" Fu Niu smiled, showing her small white teeth, and kissed her on the face. In this way, I expressed my desire for a skirt without refuting grandma. Everyone couldn't help but laugh, and sister-in-law Lu even shouted, "This child is so smart, his eyelashes are all empty. He's only a little older now, he'll be great when he grows up." So, the old lady pointed to Huanayang and said, "I have already told Huanayang to teach Fu Niu some etiquette. It is best to learn embroidery again and sharpen her temper. Otherwise, when this girl grows up, I'm afraid it gives me the most headache." The whole afternoon passed in such laughter. Mrs. Li, Mrs. Kyung and Dong Mei cooked dinner together. Ji Yan followed her and made trouble while playing. Finally, Dong Mei took her out. Ji Yan took the opportunity to say a few words in her ear. Dong Mei nodded in agreement and went back to the next door. When Tao Hongying came back from the valley, the food was already set on the table. She felt a little guilty and said, "Mom, I've made you tired again." "What nonsense are you talking about? We are all a family. When you are busy, I will cook for you." "Why bother?" the old lady asked her daughter-in-law to sit down. Seeing her daughter-in-law's expression turned ugly, she asked, "Is the valley still so busy?" Tao Hongying nodded. "Second brother told the guests today that they are not allowed to bring extra wine. The guests are a little dissatisfied, but I think it will be much better in the future." End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 314. Chapter 314. What a coincidence. The old lady complained, "These people are really strange. They want to drink and eat in restaurants in the city. Why do they gather in our valley? Li Lao brought some food to Brother Cat and said, Mom, I feel strange too. After these few days of busy work, I will go to the city to see if there is anything wrong. We don't know. Okay, don't be too tired. If you meet Mr. Wen, you'd better ask him to find another husband, otherwise the candle will be burned at both ends and your body will be exhausted. Mrs. Li told her son that the whole family was talking and eating, but it was quiet. Jiyan felt sorry for her mother and slept with her at night. Although her husband is not around, Tao Hongying is feeling much better with her daughter accompanying her. The two mothers took a bath together, wiped their hair together, and hid in bed together telling fairy tales. When you fall asleep, your heads are next to each other, and your dreams are filled with sweetness and happiness. In the middle of the night, Dong Mei came over and knocked quietly on the window. Jiyan ran out softly, lay on Dong Mei's back, and quickly left the village. At this moment, in the Dak military camp less than 100 miles away, it is the turn of Li Laozi and Li Yang's team to stay on duty tonight. Everyone walked through every corner of the camp over and over again, and when they finally could rest for a while, they gathered around the campfire to warm their feet and chat. The night in early spring is still cold and cool, and when I speak, there is still a faint white breath. I don't know who mentioned the family, and a man said in a loud voice, "We will cross the river in a few days. After I kill a few more barbarians and get military honors and silver rewards, I will go home and marry Xiaokui." Xiaokui is the girl he is engaged to be engaged to. It is said that she is tall and strong, and very tough, but in his description she is a gentle and shy little girl, causing everyone to make jokes from time to time. But Li Yong said, "Okay, Wei Daniu, when you go back to your hometown to build a new house, you must call me. I am the best at building houses. I will build you the most beautiful yard so that you can marry a wife in style." Wei Daniu laughed and punched Li Yong with his fist as big as a pottery bowl. "Good brother, you are so loyal." Li Yong was so beaten that he almost fell down, but it was Li Laozi who helped him. Wei Daniu scratched the back of his head and said with a naive smile, "Oh, I forgot to gather my strength again." "Li Yong, you should eat more, you are as thin as a chicken." Everyone grinned and cursed, "You idiot, are your eyes just for show? Doesn't Li Yong eat as much as we do?" "Really, why don't I know?" Wei Daniu shrugged, "My mother said that being able to eat is a blessing." Everyone was helpless. "Your mother is right, you are lucky to look like this idiot. Didn't you realize that Li Yong was practicing swinging a knife in his dream? We were all afraid of being slashed and hid far away. Only you and Li Laozi were willing sleep next to him." "Really, Wei Daniu didn't care, it's okay. I have rough skin and thick flesh, so I'm not afraid of this." Everyone was so angry that they vomited blood. Was he showing off to them his rough skin and thick flesh? At this time, Zhang Chen came over, and everyone quickly stood up and saluted. Zhang Chen waved his hand, smiled and said to Li Laozi and Li Yong, "Several letters from the Marquis have fallen to Zhuangzi. You guys should run over quickly and help get them back. Get back before dinner tomorrow." "Yes," Li Laozi and Li Yong quickly agreed, and finally took their weapons and went to get the horses. Before leaving, seeing the brothers looking at him eagerly, they smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will bring you delicious food when I come back." "Haha, that's pretty much it, I'm just waiting for your words." That's right, didn't fourth brother Li say that my sister-in-law's cooking is delicious, we want to try it?" "Yep." After finally getting rid of these foodie brothers, Li Laozi and Li Yong mounted their horses and galloped towards Broken Gold Beach. Others don't know, but they know it very well. The Marquis either asked them to get letters, or made excuses to ask them to go home and have a look before crossing the river. Especially Li Yong, it's as if he's ready to return home. His pregnant wife was alone in Zhuangzi. Although he knew that the Li family would definitely help take care of her, he was still worried about her. The two of them galloped all the way. When they arrived at Zhuangzi, the sky was getting slightly brighter. The village chief, who got up early, was bringing several villagers along the path behind the mountain with a smile on his face. He had a half-dead fat pig tied to the wooden sledge in his hand. They were even more happy when they saw Li Laozi and Li Yong coming back. "Oh, fourth brother. Yan, no, Daong, why are you back? This is great. Mr. Marquis sent a lot of white pigs over last night. One of them may have been bruised and will not survive. Today we are going to kill pigs for meat in the village." The village chief grabbed Li Laozi and Li Yong one by one. "You are so lucky." Li Laozi and Li Yong were also happy and entered the village with everyone. The big fat pig was placed in front of Li's house. It squeaked twice from time to time, causing all the young and old in the village to come to watch the fun. Some children even rubbed their eyes and pulled on their shoes. I heard that pigs were being killed for meat again. Everyone said it was a pity that the fat pig would be killed and couldn't help but drool. Li Laozi and Li Yong had already entered the yard at this moment, and the Li family was very happy to see them back suddenly. Old Mrs. Li looked her son up and down, secretly wiping tears. Tao Hongying didn't care about being shy and pulled her husband's arm. The boys even gathered around the fourth uncle asking questions and jumping up and down. "That's good news. I took a sneak trip last night and felt sleepy when I got home. It was almost dawn when I finally fell asleep." At this moment, she was snoring a little. She had no idea that she was greedy for a moment, but she managed to improve her father's life. Li Yong looked around, but couldn't see Hui Niang's shadow, so he became a little anxious. "Auntie, where is Madame Hui? How are she and the child?" Only then did Mrs. Li remember that she had forgotten him, and said quickly, "Hui Niang moved back to the back to be with the village elder and his wife. She lives in a room by herself and is living comfortably. Come and have a look, we will come over for dinner soon." "Okay," Li Yong responded, and then ran away quickly. Orange Mrs. Li pushed her son back into the house and asked him to talk to his wife about himself, and then went out. As soon as she saw the half-dead fat pig at the door, and heard that there were more than a dozen pigs in the pigsty, she understood everything. It must be another good thing that her granddaughter did secretly. She hurriedly said, "I was wondering when these white pigs would be delivered, but it was a coincidence that they arrived just after the pigsty was built. It just so happened that the fourth child and Li Yong came back, so we quickly cleaned up the pigs. Everyone, let's not talk about meat, but also make some food, and let the fourth child and Li Yong take it with Mr. Ho when they go back." "Okay, this is what it should be," everyone in the village agreed with a smile. Some people also asked, "When will the fourth brother and the others go back?" The old lady sighed, "I'm leaving after lunch, so I can get back to the dock before dinner. In such a hurry, I thought they could stay for one night. Being a soldier means you are not as comfortable as at home. That's for sure, there are strict rules in the army." Everyone was busy killing pigs and dividing the meat, talking and laughing, and it was very lively. There were horse-drawn carriages carrying hot spring guests passing through the village one after another, so I naturally saw them. So before the sun rose above her head, sister-in-law Lu came back from the valley with a bad look on her face. The third update is here. I wish you all a healthy Dragon Boat Festival. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 315. Chapter 315. A sheep dung egg spoils a pot of soup. Lu Biatu was the first to greet him, held his wife's arm, and asked, "What's going on? Have you met a difficult guest?" Sister-in-law Lu gasped tiredly and responded, "You guys go and have a look. There is a customer who is making a big fuss. He must eat some braised pork, and Hong Ying has to make it himself. I said I have something to do at home, so I won't order at noon, but only sell set meals. and the braised pork took more than 2 hours, and we couldn't make it in time for lunch, so they started cursing. The villagers were angry at that time. Isn't this unreasonable? Yes, is this bullying coming to your door? Let's go and have a look. The village chief heard the news and walked out of the courtyard. Li Laozi also followed behind. He was already strong, but during this period of time in the military camp, crawling and rolling, his toughness became even stronger. The village chief asked sister-in-law Lu carefully, frowned, and then told the villagers, "Go and call Mr. Er to kill a pig today, so that the naughty boys in the school can get out of school early, and they can also be happy." The villagers ran away in a hurry, and they all walked towards the valley. Halfway through, Li Lao caught up with them. A group of more than a dozen people arrived at the hot spring valley. The busy women in the Taniguchi hut all had a backbone when they saw their family members. "Village chief, you are here." Those guests are still yelling and cursing inside, which has already made the other guests dissatisfied. "Yeah, they scolded us so unpleasantly, as if we were his slaves. I was going to beat the boys just now, but we called them all out. A sheep dung egg ruins a pot of soup if you don't take a dip in a good hot spring. You insist on drinking wine and eating braised pork. We treat our place as a tavern." The village chief waved his hand to signal everyone to stop talking, and then led people directly into the valley. Most of the cabins and courtyards are occupied by female guests. When seeing so many people coming in, they always close the windows or courtyard doors. But everyone is curious, so they could not help but send their servants out to find out the news. The pool under the hot spring waterfall is filled with water, and more than 20 male guests are soaking in the hot spring. Possibly thanks to the heat of the hot springs, the green grass on the cliffs on both sides has sprouted. It looks like the color of early spring, a symbol of hope. The guests were soaking in the hot springs, chatting, and enjoying the light of the sky and the color of the grass in early spring. However, there were just a few people who made the scene look bad. They sat around on a stone by the pond, with 2 wine pots and a roasted chicken in the middle. They ate and drank, and occasionally spit out bones and complained. "This place is really nice, but it's a pity that it can't be run if we set up a stage in the middle of the water pool, let a few young women dance, and let the spring water wet their clothes. Hee, wouldn't it be more elegant? Ha ha, wonderful, wonderful." The other people also clapped their hands and laughed wildly. Unfortunately, there are too many idiots in the world who don't understand this way of making money. At this moment, the village chief and others came over. The other guests couldn't help but sit up straight and looked over. The village chief and others glanced at the messy ground around them and the wine bottles on the stones, with ugly expressions on their faces. Li Lao took a step forward, clasped his fists in salute, and said coldly, "Guests, we in the valley have already reminded you that you are not allowed to bring drinks without permission, just for fear of doing something rude while drunk. After all, there are female guests here. You are breaking our rules here." Several drinkers were not happy to hear this. "What nonsense rules? You are open for business and we come to patronize. Why should we be subject to your control? I have never heard of it." "Then let's just pretend that you just heard about it today and let's not pursue it for the time being." But a few people just ordered, but they said they wanted braised pork. Li Lao looked at a few people carefully, and they were not the familiar guests in the past. A fat bartender shouted, "Yes, don't you have the best chef in Tianwu here? He can cook all kinds of dishes. What's wrong with us ordering braised pork? And isn't the pig slaughtered in your village today? Just use fresh food made from slaughtered pork. Yes, if it's done, there will be a reward." Several other drinkers also agreed, looking very arrogant. Li Lao responded with a cold face, "First, our valley will not accept orders today. Second, there is no top chef in Tianwu in our valley. Third, we will only kill pigs for our own family to eat today. It will not be our turn. Guests should get up and get dressed and go to the restaurants in the city to ask if they have braised pork. How presumptuous, the fat man was annoyed. Are you trying to drive away guests, you slaves? Who gave you the courage? That is, do you know who we are? You don't want to live anymore. The dog slave has eaten the heart of the bear and the courage of the leopard. The village chief and others all had dark faces. Li Laosi clenched his fists and was about to step forward, but was stopped by Li Laoer. Uncle, the village chief is tired, please bring a rock for him to sit on. Li Laosi glared at the guests, then walked to the side, selected a stone as big as a millstone, bent down, and easily lifted it, then walked to the edge of the pool and put it down with a bang. Li Laoer respectfully helped the village chief sit down, as if he didn't even see the frightened eyes of the drinkers. This stone weighs more than 300 kilograms, and even 4 people may not be able to lift it. Li Laosi is just one person. It is very easy to move a chair. How strong are these arms? An ordinary person only weighs more than 100 kilograms. In his hands, wouldn't it be like a toy, and he can easily throw it away. Several drinkers subconsciously shrank into the pool, their faces turned pale with fright. Li Laoer then looked at them again and said, we don't know the identities of these guests, and we don't want to know. But when these guests come to our valley to play, they probably don't know who we are, right? First of all, we are not slaves, we are ordinary people in this village. But Zhuangzi is the property of the Ye family of the Marquis of Xinting, and we are the ones who manage the valley for the Marquis. Even if we are slaves, we are also the slaves of the Marquis. You not qualified enough to be called a dog slave. His expression changed and he stared at the drinkers fiercely. If you don't believe it, then I advise you to inquire carefully. Otherwise, you will end up with eyes and ears in vain and harm yourself and your family. It will really be more than worth the gain. Then, let's talk about whether we want to live or not. Of course we want to live. The jade melons and golden fruits we grow are the emperor's favorite foods. We will start planting this year soon. If some guests think you are better than the emperor noble, then we will not live and commit suicide to apologize to you. But when the emperor wants jade melons and golden fruits, you will have to pick them on your own heads, and of course, you will be disliked by the emperor. Are you threatening us? We are just a group of slaves. Do you think the Marquis and the Emperor will remember you guys with muddy legs? The fat drunkard shouted with force. The other people also seemed to have found the confidence, and echoed, that is, the Marquis has already gone on an expedition, and the Emperor is in the palace, who can go to verify it? You just hold the banner and make trouble. Whether we are raising a banner or not, I won't bother you to worry about it. Li Laoer became impatient and called to the villagers, come, clean up a few guests and ask them to return to Kyoto as soon as possible to verify it. This time the court may not be over yet, so don't delay them from entering the palace to ask the emperor. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 316. Chapter 316, Lost Dog. Several villagers did not hesitate, jumped into the pool, caught a few drinkers and threw them ashore. The clothes of the drinkers were hanging nearby. They were taken off and wrapped up, and then they were carried out of the valley. The fat drinker was still shouting at the top of his lungs, but Li Laosi slapped him on the head, and he immediately passed out, scaring the other people into shutting up. Li Laoer led others to clean up the wine bottles and bones, and finally saluted the other guests with a smile. Everyone, our valley is not careful enough. We let such evil guests come in and ruin your elegance. In this way, you can taste the fruits of our valley first and take a good bath in the hot springs. At noon, the family kills the pigs and stews the most authentic local pig killing dish. If you don't mind it, come and try it. Mr. 2, you're too polite. It's just a small matter, a regular customer responded, and others nodded. Li Lauer saluted and apologized again, and then retreated. Soon, a boy brought a fruit plate. There are no particularly rare fruits in the fruit plate, just apples and pears, peeled and cut into pieces, and tied with thin wooden sticks. But in this season, it is not easy to keep the fruit so fresh. The guests took one bite and felt it was particularly refreshing and sweet. Someone laughed and said, "This golden beach is really a bit magical, and I like it more and more." Haha, me too. Although people open their doors to welcome guests just to make money, they really do it in a wise way. Yes, I like this confidence. I won't bully anyone, and I won't be afraid of anyone. Those idiots just now have lost your master. They didn't ask whose property this is before they came here. You saw it just now, that man lifted the big blue stone directly. He was really strong. Why didn't such a man go on an expedition with the Marquis? How do you know you didn't go? That person just now is the fourth son of the Li family. It is said that the Li family saved the life of the Marquis. Previously, the Marquis was seriously injured and was recuperated in the Li family. This time the Marquis went on an expedition, and this fourth Master Li was with him. I went. I guess I came back to visit relatives today, and I was caught up by those idiots just now. What a coincidence. Haha, it gave us a lot of fun. Let's not talk about what's going on in the valley, just say that in the Li family's yard, the meat is divided when the meat needs to be divided, and the fire is lit when the fire needs to be made. It is still busy. Jiyan was woken up and finally got up with a yawn. When she turned around, she saw that Mrs. Kui was guarding her while doing needlework. Senior Aunt Jiyan called out softly. Fu Niu is awake. Mrs. Kui put down her sewing basket and pushed it far away for fear of pricking the child. Then she hugged Jiyan and kissed her little face gently. We are butchering pigs at home. Your grandma and your mother are busy. My aunt will help you wash your face and then eat the meat, okay? Okay, thank you, sister-in-law. Jiyan smiled and hurriedly got dressed and went to the ground. After washing up, the whole family went out and saw Mrs. Li standing in front of the big chopping board. On the chopping board, strips of pork are neatly arranged. Each strip is about the same size, weighing about 2 kilograms. This is distributed to each family in the village. There are 2 extra pieces of 5 or 6 kilograms, which are prepared to be sent to the Lu family and Mr. Wen. Seeing that her granddaughter had woken up, Mrs. Li quickly bent down and picked her up. Then she said to Mrs. Kui, "While you are here, I won't send pork to your village. On the contrary, the Lu family and Mr. Wen's will give it to me. If you have anything, please bring it along with me." Mrs. Kui blushed. Seeing that there were no outsiders around, she said, "Just in time, I made 2 pairs of shoes and a gown for my senior brother, and brought them to him together. In addition, from the Lu family, I brought 2 embroidery books that she likes to my sister-in-law." Book. Sure, you take care of the arrangements. The 2 were discussing, and when they heard the good news, Cat Brother and the others seemed to be outside the yard, so they struggled to the ground and ran out. It turned out that the naughty boys, Brother Cat, didn't even have time to put down their school bags, so they kicked pig urine at the door and made a lot of noise. Jiyan watched the fun with a smile and had no intention of joining in. With her small arms and legs, if one of her falls, she will easily become the second ball. At the time of the excitement, 2 carriages suddenly came running from the other side of the valley at a very fast speed. The children were startled and hurriedly hid in front of the door. Jian and Jiaxi tucked Brother Cat behind their backs, then hugged their sister and protected them in their arms. The carriage rushed past almost in the blink of an eye, accidentally crushing the pig's urine bubble, making the naughty boy scream in anger. It happened that the village chief and Li Lauer came back. Seeing the children like this, They smiled and said, "This is a small matter, don't argue. I will ask your husband to go to the city tomorrow and buy some sheepskin balls. You will have nothing to do from now on, you can play." Seriously, the boys were so happy that they immediately forgot about the trivial matter. Li Laosi hugged his daughter and told the village chief and his second brother, "These people are not allowed to make appointments in the future, and they are not allowed to come to our valley again. Don't worry, I'm afraid they won't have the guts to come again." Li Lao waved his hand, "It's a busy day at home, so let's not talk about it for now. I'll make inquiries later." Everyone nodded and let it go. In the kitchen, several women were accompanying Tao Hongying, and they were very busy. The family still eats pork killing vegetables and steamed buns with noodles as usual, but Li Laosi and Li Yong have to go back to the dock after dinner, and they always have to bring something to eat for the Marquis and the soldiers and brothers they have become friends with. So, Tao Hongying made 2 more basins of noodles and planned to steam 200 steamed buns. It has noodles, meat, and vegetables. It tastes good and is filling. Soon, Li Yong and his wife came, and Hui Niang also joined the team of making buns. When the sun rises above the head, the food is ready. Everyone in the village, young and old, held a large pottery bowl, filled with sauerkraut stewed in bone broth, large slices of meat and blood sausage, and 2 large steamed buns skewered on chopsticks. Find a sunny and sheltered place to squat down, eat, drink and chat, it is extremely satisfying. Ji Yan also joined in the fun and brought a small bowl. In the bowl was the meat picked from the bones by the old lady, and a big soft bun. She squatted next to her father, eating while listening to her father talk about little things about the military camp on the dock. Previously, the Marquis used retreat to advance and completely tamed the short-sighted old guys in the court. Now the military pay is fully paid, the military rations are sufficient, and most of the weapons and equipment have been replaced with new ones, which is enough to support the 20,000 horse expedition for 2 or 3 months. And if everything goes well, when the Marquis returns from the expedition, the corn and potato seedlings will also grow to 1 foot high. It will take another 3 or 2 months for the barbarians to regain their strength, and it will be autumn, and it will be time for a good harvest of corn and potatoes. By then, the entire Tianwu will know that with high-yield food, national strength can be quickly restored, and there is absolutely hope for regaining Jiangbei. All the forces from top to bottom will be united, waiting for a counterattack. Both civil and military officials and emperors, they all paid special attention to several judgments in history books. Half of Tianwu's empire was lost in their hands. If they can be snatched back, they can still save some face, otherwise, in the history books, they will be just lost dogs and incompetent waste. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 317. Chapter 317 Birdman on Horseback. After having lunch and chatting a few more words, Li Laosi and Li Yong each carried a large wicker basket and set off on the road to the military camp. 2 hand-width cloth bags were added to the wicker basket so that it would not strain the shoulders when carried. The basket is lined with several layers of cotton cloth, which is breathable and heat insulating, and will prevent the buns from getting wet due to stacking together. The 2 of them were riding horses and running, and the heat radiating from behind them was like white wings, making them very happy. Everyone was standing at the entrance of the village to see each other off, feeling a bit reluctant and sad. Seeing this, they couldn't help but laugh. Why do they look like 2 birdmen on horses? Haha, I want to say this too. I hope the buns haven't cooled down yet when we get to the camp. Don't worry if it gets cold, it's much warmer this time of year. Everyone said a few words and then dispersed to get busy. Li Lao didn't want to delay the children's class tomorrow, so he asked his mother to go to the city immediately. Mrs. Li didn't stop her and said, "Zhang Luo, go to Mr. Wen's place first and bring some pig meat and meat buns to Mr. Wen and Wen Hai. I'm afraid they don't cook often, so they always have to deal with it. Eat. Soon, the pork was tied with hemp rope and the food was packed. Mrs. Kui asked sister-in-law Kyan to bring 2 cloth bags, one large and one small. The old lady smiled and helped divide it, and then gave her son a few careful instructions. The carriage at home was hitched, and Jian and his family were excited to go to the city to play together. Li Laoer simply hugged the cat brother, and for a while, Jian was the only child left in the family. It's not that Li Laoer doesn't love his niece, it's just that her niece is too young for a grown man to take care of. Fortunately, Jian was thinking about accompanying her mother, so she obediently accepted her second uncle's promise to buy snacks, and sent them off with her little hand. Tao Hongying had red circles under her eyes. She really couldn't let go of her husband, but there was a lot of work at home and her daughter was always following her, so she had no time to feel sad. Besides, Li Laoer took his nephews into the city and unexpectedly met the Lu family's carriage at the city gate. Lu's Haiheng had just returned from Xianhe town. He heard that Li Laoer was going to find Mr. Wen, so he handed the basket Li Laoer brought to Chang Sui. "Tell madam, I will also go see Mr. Wen and come home in the evening." After saying that, he changed into the Li family's carriage and left together. Chang Sui was left with a wry smile. The eldest man hadn't come back for half a month. The eldest wife was at home and didn't know how to look forward to it. As a result, she couldn't even enter the house. The plan for the year begins with spring. At this time of year, whether it is the common people or the imperial court, the most important thing is the upcoming spring sowing. Even the most diligent censor kept his mouth shut at this time and did not dare to speak at will, for fear of causing trouble and disturbing such an important moment. Therefore, after attending court in the morning, there were almost no people at the Yashitai in the afternoon. From Shangguan to petty officials, they all fished together. Mr. Wen is also studying and writing at home at the moment. The books were sent from Luoan College. Jiaran was a very attentive child. Even after copying a copy of the Guo family's books and leaving them in the college, he did not stop writing and continued copying while reading. Then he sent the extra copy to the small courtyard. Mr. Wen understood that this was the disciple's concern, fearing that he would be sad because he was kicked out of his family when he was free. He simply filled the book with his thoughts every day and asked Wen Hai to give it to Jiaran after he finished writing it. Although the teachers and students have not seen each other for a long time, they are closely connected in this way. Mr. Wen was really surprised and happy when he suddenly saw Li Laoer and Lu's Haiheng coming to the door with their 3 children. "Why are you here free? Aren't you busy at home?" Li's Haiheng waved his hand. "I met Mr. Er at the city gate and came over together." Li Laoer also smiled and said, "We killed a pig today, and my mother asked me to give you a piece of pork to eat freshly." Wen Hai took the things and saw that the pork chops and steamed buns were still warm, so he smiled and said, "It's great that Mr. Second is here. What should Mr. and I worry about eating? My cooking skills are so bad. I have to practice after such a long time. The porridge is the best." Everyone laughed and quickly helped set the table. Lu's Haiheng didn't eat either, so he simply followed. Li Laoer drank tea and talked with Lu's Haiheng and Mr. Wen. Wen Hai took 2 buns and took a few children to play in the alley. Li Laoer picked up his purse and handed it to him. "Brother Hai, these guys want to buy sheepskin balls. If you know where they can buy them, take them for a walk. There is one more thing, if you can help me ask a few questions." "That's even better." Wen Hai took the purse and said with a smile, "Second sir, just ask." Li Laoer briefly talked about what happened in the valley today. Wen Hai took the order and quickly took the 3 boys out. Lu's Haiheng gnawed on the buns and said, "There are so many people coming and going in your valley. I am stealing someone's business and giving you eye drops behind your back." Mr. Wen nodded, "I'm afraid it has something to do with the restaurants in the city." Lu's Haiheng shook his head, "I think it has more to do with the flower viewing villas outside the city." You must know that they also attract customers with their scenery. Their business was originally very good, but after the Broken Gold Beach was established, it was greatly reduced. I have seen this year the orchards in Ruginton are about to bloom again. Many of the literati in the city have talked about it, which has made them anxious, right? That's all. We'll know everything when Wenhai comes back. Let's eat this pig-killing dish is really delicious, and your traditional craftsmanship in the north is authentic. I've eaten it twice in restaurants in the city, and it tastes weird. Yeah, why did the family think of killing pigs again? It's not the New Year or the festival, Luz Haiheng and Mr. Wen asked about things in the village while eating. Li Lauer said, this fat pig is dishonest. He jumped over the wall and fell half to death, so we have to kill him. It happened that Lao Si and Li Yong came back from the military camp and gave them a good meal and carried more than 200 steamed buns. Gone. Lao Si and Li Yong are back. They seldom have good food. How is the doc? Is the training hard? Mr. Wen and Luz Haiheng are half of the village, so they also know a little about Mr. Yan becoming a soldier under a pseudonym. At this time, they said, I heard that the Yan family is in serious trouble and is looking for people everywhere. Li Yong is also bold. It would be troublesome if it was discovered. Li Lauer smiled and said, Lao Si and the others came back before dawn in the morning, and left after lunch. They didn't meet any outsiders, so they were not afraid of being discovered. Lao Si and Li Yong are both much stronger, especially Li Yong. I'm afraid my mother won't be able to recognize him in front of him. Oh, that's it? The army really trains people. The Marquis also has a good way of leading troops. The soldiers who are also guarding the riverside are like tigers in the hands of the Marquis. They are evenly matched against the barbarians. In the hands of Dingbei Marquis, they are losing ground here. Luz Haiheng couldn't help complaining, looking down on Dingbei Ho. Mr. Wen also nodded, every time there is a war, the Marquis takes the lead and kills the enemy bravely. But the Dingbei Marquis hides behind the generals for fear of being hurt by the barbarians and causing low morale. How can he win the battle? While they were chatting and laughing, they finished their meal, put away the bowls and chopsticks, changed the tea and water, and waited for Wenhai to come back. Wenhai didn't waste any time and came back with the children less than an hour after leaving. 3 more, Beizai moved to make a fortune, ordered a 5-star praise and good looking, encouraging the holidays that are still working code words. End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 318. Chapter 318. Fat girl is also a busy person. Jian Jiaxi and Cat brothers' faces were flushed, obviously they were very happy shopping. At this moment, 3 children ran forward and showed off their 2 new balls. Jia and Jia said happily, second uncle, I just came back. There are some children in the alley. Can we play football with them? Go ahead, but take one of the 2 new and take the other home to play with your friends in the village. Li Lao rubbed his nephew's hair and told him, take good care of my brother. I know, uncle. The 3 boys went out in a hurry, and soon there was a lot of shouting and noise outside the door, which was very lively. Mr. Wen and Luz Haiheng also laughed, it's good to be young, and I am so happy after just 1 ball. Li Lauer also nodded and asked Wenhai, brother Hai, did you find out anything? Wenhai stepped forward, exchanged the wallets containing money, and said with a smile, second sir, there is not much news from the outside, but I visited 2 more tea houses and actually asked a few questions. It seems that I don't know when the city will wake up. Some people are saying that there is a descendant of the royal chef in Sujintan, who can cook all the famous dishes in the world, and the taste is also the best in the world. Many people say that Sujintan has a loud voice and will do whatever it takes to attract business. But many people are also interested in ordering food to try out the chef's skills, especially the chefs in some restaurants. If they can't leave, they will run away. Broken Gold Beach challenged. Li Lauer frowned. Neither the village nor the Li family had ever said such arrogant words. Furthermore, the one who first became famous and the most arrogant should be Dr. Zhang. Why shouldn't we go past Dr. Zhang and bring out the fourth daughter-in-law who has been working silently? It's hard to say, this is someone behind the scenes, adding fuel to the flames and giving Broken Gold Beach a favor. Mr. Wen and Luz Haiheng obviously heard it, and sneered, the Broken Gold Beach is in the name of the Marquis. They don't dare to enmity with the Marquis, so they came up with a plan to kill him. Yes, but it's hard to say whose idea it was. Maybe it's someone who has a grudge against the Marquis, or maybe someone whose business was robbed by Su Jintan. It's possible. Li Lauer didn't want them to bother with it, so he smiled and said, that's all, they are just some little people who dare to work behind the scenes. After I went back, I stopped ordering food in the valley, which also gave the fourth wife less work. Recently when the fourth child went to the military camp, the fourth wife got angry a lot. Yes, we must remain unchanged to cope with all changes, don't care what outsiders think, as long as no one dares to find Broken Gold Beach and make noise. Mr. Wen nodded. Luz Haiheng, however, looked a little more generous and sneered, if anyone dares to cause trouble, send someone to my house to shout. I've been in Zindu for so many years, and I'm still a bit thin-faced. Li Lauer cupped his hands and thanked them, and the three of them talked about some trivial matters until the sun was setting. Luz Haiheng hurried home, and Li Lauer also took his three nephews who were sweating profusely from playing and left. In the new village, every household has started to cook dinner at this time. The green smoke is floating in the green water and mountains, which is exceptionally peaceful and soft. The village chief came out of the river beach and happened to meet the carriage. He jumped on the carriage and asked Li Lauer. Li Lauer briefly explained the matter, and the village chief responded directly without any reluctance, it's okay to remove the menu. Not to mention that the fourth wife is not so tired, it also saves a few manpower, and the spring sowing will begin soon. We use people everywhere. This matter is settled now. At the dinner table, Li Lauer also talked with his family members. Early on the next morning, when Jiaxi Jian and Cat Brother rushed to school with their new ball in their arms, a clear sign was posted on the other side of the valley, only set meals were sold, no a la carte was accepted, and guests were asked to concentrate on enjoying the scenery and soaking in the hot springs. Those who make trouble while drinking will no longer be allowed to enter the valley. Some guests saw it and said it was good, while some guests saw it and said the valley was well behaved. But no matter what the guests say, this rule is not going to be changed. Tao Hongying felt much more relaxed immediately, and the number of women helping in the kitchen was reduced from 4 to 2. Every morning, the women pack the ingredients. Tao Hongying comes over to cook the set meal at noon, and then goes back in the afternoon. Tao Hongying was not one to take advantage, so she took the initiative to reduce her daily work points by half. In this way, she can help her mother-in-law take care of household chores in the morning, and spend the afternoon with her daughter doing needlework. Her cheeks, which had become thin due to busyness and exhaustion, have become plump again, and she has regained her former cheerful spirit. Jiyan transformed into a little tail and has been following her mother for the past few days, which made the old lady jealous and joked that her granddaughter could no longer follow her grandmother. After coaxing my mother with the good news, I have to coax my grandma, and occasionally accompany my sister-in-law. Like a top, I have become a very busy person. But soon, she couldn't care anymore. Because the weather is getting warmer day by day, spring sowing is about to begin. The nursery of the space vegetable garden has been planted with melon vines one after another by her. Because there was too much need, the seeds were planted in the nursery for 2 days. When they grew to 3 inches high, she moved them to an ordinary field and raised them first. Then the next batch started without any delay. There are also many seedlings of various green vegetables. Seeing that the rice seedlings quickly occupied 2 acres of land, she thought about her uncle again. If the uncle doesn't come back with corn and potatoes to plant, he will miss the solar term. The village has been very busy these days. The fruit trees on the mountains need to be taken care of, the riverbanks need to be prepared, and people who want to grow jade melons and golden fruits have come to ask for advice. For a time, the gravel beach seemed to be in a mess everywhere. Li Lauer discussed with the village chief and set up a set of tables and chairs under the big tree at the entrance of the village. He fixed a time every day to explain the process of growing jade melons and golden fruits for free. The news spread, and an unknown number of people gathered. Even those who have no seeds or seedlings at home come to enjoy the fun. It's like learning how to plant, and your family will have a golden avenue of profit. The village chief also welcomes anyone who wants to listen, as long as he doesn't cause trouble to the village. In fact, it is not difficult to grow jade melons and golden melons. Choose sandy soil for the field, do not lack water when transplanting, and pull weeds frequently. Remember to pinch the tips of the melon seedlings after they climb the vines. After the main roots of the melons grow, you should also pinch them early so as not to affect the rest of the melons. Growth of small melons on the vine. That's about it, as long as an experienced farmer can understand it. So, after the village entrance was bustling for 5 or 6 days, it finally became quiet. But Li Zheng from the Wangzhuang and Weisha began to report every day again, waiting to get melon vines. They were afraid that Zinken would regret it, so their hope was in vain. Even though the village chief lied, he could not stop them. In the end, they had no choice but to find the Li family. Did the Marquis say, "When will the melons be delivered? I will be entangled to death by these people, following them wherever I go, they are more important than my old lady." Everyone couldn't help but laugh and advised, "They are also thinking about making more money, and they are afraid that we will regret it." After saying that, everyone looked at Dongmei. Dongmei had already prepared and said, "The melon vines should be delivered in the next few days." The village chief breathed a sigh of relief, "That's good, that's good." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 319. Chapter 319 Return of the Wanderer in Spring. Li Lauer also said, "Next year we will find a sunny place and build a greenhouse. We will raise the seedlings ourselves. This will save us energy and time." Dongmei glanced at Jiyan but said nothing. Jiyan was leaning in her mother's arms and was so sleepy that she didn't even hear what anyone said. She was busy in the space courtyard at night. Although she didn't have to do any work herself, she was still young and her mental energy was limited. During the day, it is inevitable to sleep more to catch up. Everyone chatted for a while, and when they saw the good news, their mouths watered, and they became a little worried. Has Fu Niu always been so sleepy these days? It seems like, is there something wrong there? Hurry up and find Dr. Zhang to take a look. Li Lauer got up and left, and soon personally picked up Dr. Zhang. When Dr. Zhang heard that something was wrong with the good news, he was also a little anxious, and he didn't even have time to wash off the blood on his hands. Needless to say, his experiments with dramatic suturing continued. Tao Hongying quickly fetched water and asked the old man to wash his hands, and then the old man checked Jiyan's pulse. Even with all this tossing, Jiyan was still fast asleep and didn't notice it at all. Divine Dr. Zhang carefully examined his left hand and right hand, then blinked twice and said, "There is nothing wrong with this child. He is in good health. Maybe he is just tired." Li Lauer and others didn't believe it. She is a child and doesn't do any work, so how can she be tired? She was running around outside with the cat brothers earlier, but she hasn't gone out these days. But the old lady's mind suddenly moved, she had some vague guesses, and she quickly responded, I am sleepy in the spring and take a nap in the autumn and summer. This child may be sleepy in the spring. Everyone laughed. Maybe this girl is going to grow taller. Since he was not sick, everyone was no longer worried and asked about Dr. Zhang's suture test. When Dr. Zhang talked about this, he was dancing with joy. It's done right away. The catgut is really easy to use. It doesn't need to be removed. It grows directly into the meat and won't fester. Even the test on pigs and sheep is still a bit poor. I'm going to. He was halfway through speaking, and when he saw everyone looking at him with a little fear, he stopped in time, coughed twice, and said, I'll tell you after I've finished my research. After saying that, he walked away with his hands behind his back. His back looked a little guilty. Everyone secretly prayed for the old man's new test subject. Jiyan slept until dusk when she woke up. When she heard that Dr. Zhang came to see her, she couldn't laugh or cry, but she also knew that her family was worried about her. So, she smiled and gave her mother and grandma a big kiss each. The family had dinner and then went to bed early. Jiyan had just woken up. He couldn't sleep for a while, and he didn't dare to move around for fear of waking up his tired mother, so he ran to the small space courtyard to continue working. At midnight, Dongmei came over again. The next day, the village chief, who got up early, walked around the village as usual with his hands behind his back. As soon as he arrived outside Yes courtyard, he was startled by the large melon vines. Then he saw Dongmei dozing off against a big tree on the side, her hair wet with morning dew. Oh, Dongmei, are the seedlings coming from Zhuangzi? Why didn't you call everyone and stayed like this for half a night? What a misfortune. The village chief stepped forward and patted Dongmei awake. Dongmei rubbed her eyes and couldn't help laughing when she heard this. The old man did not go over to look at the precious seedlings. Instead, he first cared about whether she had worked hard during the night watch. This is why she and Yashin both like to stay here. The Marquis mansion is noble, but it will never have the warm human touch of Broken Gold Beach. Don't worry, uncle, I've only been guarding it for a while. The rice seedlings are precious, and I'm afraid they might be harmed by small animals. That's true, the village chief uncle looked at the large seedlings and rubbed his hands happily. The melon seedlings are growing so well, they are half a foot high in the ground. If you take good care of them, this year's melons can open 7 or 8 days early. Dongmei pointed to the melon vines with dark green leaves near the courtyard wall and whispered, Uncle, these grow well. Don't give them to outsiders. Our village grows them ourselves. The uncle nodded quickly, don't worry, I've written it down. Soon, Uncle Zhao, who was leading the patrol, heard the movement and came over. He couldn't help but be surprised. Oh, we don't know when the seedlings were delivered. The village chief uncle laughed and scolded, Master Ho's manpower skills are very high. Let me tell you how big the noise is. I'm afraid the whole village will be woken up. Everyone laughed and rushed forward to help. From time to time, someone shouts in surprise, oh, there are cucumber seedlings. These are purple eggplants. These are peas. Yes, it's quite a lot. It's enough for each of our families to share and plant a garden. The vegetable garden over the valley should also be planted with more varieties. There are more and more guests, and we can't stop eating every day. Not to mention that everyone was busy. It was just that when Jiyan woke up and had a meal, and asked her grandma to carry her to the fields, the villagers had already planted most of the melon vines. And many people came from the Weishu and Zhuangzhuang, using carts and dustpans to carry them, and carefully took away the melon vines assigned to them. Everyone was grateful, as if escorting a cornucopia, and smiled from ear to ear. Sanli is dragging the village chief with him and must invite him to drink. It's a pity that the village chief didn't have any free time at all. He only said that we would get together again if we had the opportunity in the future. Melons must be planted on the riverbanks, and vegetable gardens must be planted in each household. Not to mention the men, even the elderly, children and women are all involved in the battle. Under the warm sunshine of spring, there is a faint patch of fresh green in the mountains and fields. Occasionally, birds will fly around with crisp calls, and small animals will be running around in the grass. In the fields, old people and children were delivering water and food, and men were sweating profusely. Everyone is sowing hope for the year and looking forward to a good harvest in autumn. Jiyan lay on her back, hugged her neck, and whispered, "Grandma, I am so happy." The old lady understood her granddaughter's emotion, but she sighed softly, "Silly girl, this is all thanks to you. When I sell the money in the autumn, I will discuss it with your uncle, and our family will definitely donate some food and bedding. Let's go out. We can't just enjoy the blessings without giving back." Jiyan was reluctant to part with the money. He rolled his eyes and said, "When will uncle come back? I miss him so much." This reminds the old lady that her son has brought new seeds back, which will really make the people of Tianwu no longer hungry. That would be a great blessing. It is a coincidence that while the grandfather and grandson were talking, a team of carriages and horses came on the road in the distance. Someone was riding ahead, and in the blink of an eye he was close. "Grandma, sister. We are back." The old lady took a closer look and was really happy and wanted to laugh. The charcoal-headed boy in front of her turned out to be Ji. "Oh, Ji, you are finally back." The old lady held her granddaughter on her back with one hand and patted her grandson on the shoulder with the other. Her eyes were red with joy. "Why do you have such a tan? Have you endured hardship?" He, Ji scratched the back of his head, quickly took his sister, and responded, "Grandma, don't worry, we're not suffering, it's just that it's too sunny in the south." After saying this, he gave his sister a big kiss and said in a low voice, "Sister, third brother has brought you something good." Jiyan was so happy that she hugged her brother's neck and cheered, "The third brother is the best." End of this chapter. Dressed as a farm boy, he cheated on his way out of the desert. Author, Delayed Flowering. Chapter 320. Chapter 320. Manager Chen is very lucky. At this moment, the villagers also heard the noise and ran over from the fields one after another. Just as the motorcade was arriving, Lu Yang jumped down from the carriage and went straight to the surprised Lu Baiatu and his wife. Li Zhensheng also quickly saluted the old lady, the village chief and others. "Mother, uncle, fellow villagers, we are back." Orange Mrs. Li took her son's hand and looked up and down. She was relieved to see that her son, besides being darker, looked much stronger. "It'll be good to come back, it'll be good to come back." The village chief paid more attention to the things on the carriage. "Mr. Big, did you find something good in the south?" Li Zhensheng couldn't tell the truth, so he said, "They are some specialties from the south. I brought them to my friends. Someone will come to pick them up later. However, I also brought some seafood to the village. When I have free time tomorrow, I will share it with everyone. Eat something fresh. We are all members of our own family, why are we being so polite?" the village chief said with a smile on his face. The people in the village were curious about what was going on in the south, and they were noisy. The village chief uncle interrupted them, "Hurry and plant melon seedlings, be careful that they will wither in the sun." Mr. De didn't leave immediately when he came back. He wanted to listen to the excitement and sit at home together in the evening. Everyone smiled and said hello to Li Zhensheng, and then went back to the fields to continue working. Seeing dozens of people waiting in the motorcade, Mrs. Li hurriedly said to Luo, "Where's the second brother? Take your eldest brother and the others back quickly and wash off the dust while we cook. I'm afraid these little brothers escorting the car are still hungry." Woolen cloth. Li Lao hurried forward and led the convoy to the door of his house. The things in the car were unloaded into the marquis's yard, and the horses were handed over to the boys to eat green grass. Steward Chen and others were divided into two groups and took a refreshing bath in the hot spring pools of Li's house and Ho's house. After everyone changed into clean clothes and pants from their respective packages, the food was served. At this time, it was already lunchtime. Every family had a fire, and there was extra food cooked in the valley. They improvised some, and the Lee family cooked a big pot of porridge, which was enough for dozens of people to eat. Every family is living a good life, and the food is not too demanding, so even if there is no meat in the vegetable bowl, there is still plenty of oil and water, and the steamed buns and stews brought back from the valley are even more delicious. But even so, Mrs. Lee still felt a bit sorry and kept saying, "Why didn't you send me a message in advance?" The family was not prepared. "If the little brothers are not in a hurry and stay one more day, our family will kill the pig and give it while you make up for it. I'm afraid you'll be exhausted after traveling such a long way." Of course, Manager Chen and others couldn't respond. Even after they had taken a bath, they were all frightened when they heard that the courtyard was the residence of the Marquis. "How dare you eat and live here?" "No, no, old madam, we still have errands to do and we have to go back quickly. Next time we have a chance, we will definitely come to have a pig-killing feast." "Hey, we've agreed, we must stay a few more days next time we have the chance." The old lady didn't force them to stay, and kept urging them to eat well. Li Zhensheng hugged his niece and walked around. Since he didn't see his younger brother, he asked, "Mom, where is the fourth child? Has he entered the city?" Mrs. Li said, "The fourth child has been on an expedition with the Marquis for almost a month. A few days ago, the Marquis specially asked him to come back and have a meal. I guess he should be killing barbarians in Jiangbei now." When Manager Chen and others heard this, they even lowered their heads and ate fiercely. Fortunately, Li Zhensheng was not neglected on the road. The Li family and the Marquis were simply too close. The old lady didn't deliberately show off anything, but when she talked about the Marquis, her words showed a closeness, as if the Marquis was like her own son and grandson. After eating, Manager Chen and others quickly left. The carriage was hitched up, it was heavy and full when it arrived, but it was empty when it left. Li Zhensheng didn't stay much longer and only said that there would be another chance to meet in the future. After the convoy left, the Li family became quiet. Before the villagers came to the door, Li Zhensheng and Ji Yi hurriedly tossed the things they had brought back with them. Li Zhensheng bought the dried shrimps, fish, scallops, crab sauce, seaweed, kelp, etc. He kept some at home and distributed the rest to the villagers for fresh food. There is also a box of pearl necklaces and coral bracelets, as well as several pieces of foreign cloth, with no patterns but very thick, all for the old and young girls at home. Several sets of coral carved pen stands and small ornaments, and a box of new books that are popular in the south, were brought to Li Laoer and his son and nephew who were studying. 2 oversized conchs are for Jiyan and Cat brother. Jiyan also has a box of small pearls for her to play with. What Ji brought was much rougher. It was actually a big bag of shells of various colors and sizes, which fell to the ground in a pile. This made Jia and Jiaxi and Cat brothers' eyes sparkle. They rushed to look for them, shouting about whose shell was more beautiful and whose shell was bigger from time to time. They almost overturned the roof in excitement. Jiyan also wanted to join in the fun, but was carried onto the table. Then Ji took out a small cloth bag and poured out a pile of white and shiny things. Ji blushed a little and said with a smile, "Sister, those colorful gems are too expensive, and I don't have enough money to buy one. Someone happened to be selling this, and it was only 20 taels in total, so I bought them all." Don't be dissatisfied. When the third brother earns money, he will definitely buy you colored gems. Jiyan was so shocked that she could stuff eggs into her little mouth. Rubies and emeralds, it didn't matter. Because the pile in front of you is diamonds, diamonds. Diamonds are forever, one will last forever. This is a top quality gem that was sought after by women in the previous life. At that time, her financial strength was still strong, so she was not willing to buy one. Now, There are hundreds of them piled up in front of her eyes. The big ones are like peanuts, and the small ones are as big as soybeans. It's happening, it's really happening. Jiyan danced happily, hugged her brother and smeared his face with saliva. Third brother is the best, Fu Niu loves you so much. After saying that, she jumped off the ground. Ji was startled and gave his sister a hand. Before he could speak, his sister had already run away carrying the small stones. He blinked twice and grinned, Fu Niu is really different. I thought she would like those colorful gems, but I didn't expect that she actually likes the colorless ones. Everyone laughed and said, if your sister likes it, I will remember you as a great contributor. The old lady even said, if you see such stones again in the future, buy more for your sister. Okay, Ji responded happily. Tao Hongying was busy picking up the seafood and walking around inside and outside the house. When Li Zhensheng saw her, he asked her mother in a low voice. Mom, why did the fourth son go on an expedition with the Marquis? His temperament is too reckless. What if something happens to him? The family is not short of money now. I can also add some help to the family here. There is no need for him to work hard. Ah. The old lady sighed, waved her hand and said, you think I think so, but I don't agree with it either. My family members are all trying to stop me. But there is no way to stop him from having such a bad temper. In the end, I have no choice but to let him go. Fortunately, there are people together, and with the Marquis's bodyguards, I have some kind of support. Li Laoer thought for a while and told about the conflict with Dingbu during the Ghost Festival, and finally said, Laoer has wanted to go out and work since he was a child and was unwilling to stay at home and farm. When he was angry, he even wanted to get ahead. Li Zhensheng blamed himself, it's all my fault. If I hadn't been away from home for more than 10 years, my family wouldn't have. What nonsense are you talking about? This is not what you want. Mrs. Li quickly changed the subject as she did not want her eldest son to be sad. A big thing happened at home. The second daughter-in-law died of illness. Jia Yi was holding the teapot and taking a gulp of water. When he heard these words, the teapot in his hand fell down. My mother is dead. This is the third update. Huahua is asking for 5-star praise and good looks as usual. Thank you for your encouragement, Huahua, keep up the good work. End of this chapter.